everyone. Welcome. I am the homesteading healer. I'm Christy. I'm so happy you're here. And I am happy to be here today talking about Transcend. And I would like to talk about why this program is so important to me, and also why I think it might help you if you are feeling like you're struggling, if you're feeling like you just need some help, you need some guidance, you need a little bit of mentorship, but maybe you're not ready or not wanting to dive into like a full one-on-one mentorship with me. And let's just go ahead and get into it. So it's really kind of interesting and intriguing to me that I even named this Transcend, because first of all, that's not one of my strong suits, like coming up with creative and just like energetically juicy titles and names for things. And second of all, a few years ago, more than a few years ago, probably about 5 or 6, probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago, after I had started doing body talk sessions and I was focusing more on creating a brand or a business, for lack of a better term, I chose the name Transcendent Living. And so I don't know, maybe it was that made this word or this kind of title pop into my head for this program. But I've been thinking about it for the past, few days, couple of days anyway. And I think that it's just so fitting because I don't want to use the word goal, but the work. So the work, you hear light workers and spiritual teachers and mentors talk about the work, doing the work, and what the work looks like. So the work really is so much about transcending where you're at, where you've been, your limitations, your stories, the things that have kept you stuck, that maybe you are aware have been sticking you, maybe you're not aware they've been sticking you. My incense smoke is really trying to come cleanse me. And so I just feel like the word or the title Transcend, it really embodies and it encapsulates the energy and the potential that this program holds. And let me tell you how this applies to me personally. When I began, I wouldn't say when I began, but when my awakening, my own healing, my ascension, my transcendence really kind of kicked into gear, because it didn't begin only a couple years ago. It began long before that. But when I finally really started investing my time and my energy in healing that inner child and those wounds and all of that stuff that was holding me back, I received an inner child reading from someone who I never really officially worked with as a mentor, but she helped me through some things as I was going through all of that difficult inner work, the work. And I received this reading, and it was all of these subconscious memories, experiences, instances from my childhood, so inner child. And I got the information, but I literally had no idea then what to do with it. I didn't know. And the reading alone was really hard for me to deal with, because up until that point, and I received this reading in maybe 2 years ago, like November-ish, I think, maybe a little bit before that, in 2019, the end of 2019 anyway. And so I got this reading, and up until that point, it wasn't that I was like resisting inner child work. It was just that on the surface anyway, I just felt like it wasn't something that I needed. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. So maybe subconsciously I was resisting it because I knew that it was going to be uncomfortable. It was not going to be pleasant to dive into all of that stuff. But anyway, that's besides the point. I received the reading, and like I said, I had this information now, and I just felt like, well, now what? Like, okay, this is great insight, but I really don't know what to do with this now. And it sat there for probably until like the spring of 2020 maybe, before I finally started to then dive into it. So anyway, my point with all of that is we can have all of this information and all of this insight. So maybe you know that you had a traumatic childhood. Maybe you know that you have core wounds and you have habits and patterns and things that are kind of holding you back, or you feel like they're keeping you stuck. Sorry, this smoke is just like, wow. And so maybe you know all of that, but you have no idea how to go about working with it. And it's not even a thing of changing it, but it comes back to transcending. So here's the thing. I'll tell you a little story. When I first started talking about my own mental health, my journey with depression, and all of that, it was a really big turning point for me. Sorry, I'm just trying to not have this blowing quite so much in my face. It was a big turning point for me to start opening up about that stuff and to start sharing that, to start expressing what was going on, the things that I was experiencing and that I had experienced in the past. And I was in an abusive relationship, and I was a single mom, and my grandma died, who I was really, really close to, and all these stories, right? Experiences, things that I'd gone through, things that I experienced. But when I started opening up about those, then I shifted into a new space where, yes, that was healing for me to a certain extent. But then I got so spun up and wrapped up in telling those stories. And then with telling those stories, I'm still staying in the energy of all of that. So to transcend is to see and to acknowledge that these things have happened, and to do the work, whatever that might look like for you, to be able to heal those layers and to heal those wounds, but then to be able to rise up and out of that. Because here's the thing, even when you get to doing this work, you can tend to look for partners in pain. So someone who can share your pain, someone who you can vent to, and they'll just vent back and you'll just feed it back and forth to each other. We can sometimes tend to stay in that victim consciousness of, oh, these things happened to me and I had such a terrible life. And that's not to discount that those things happened or to disregard that those things happened, because you did have those experiences, right? I was abused. I was gaslit. I was so mentally fucked up for so long, still to this day, almost 20 years later. There's still things that pop up for me that really trigger me. So that happened. But that doesn't mean that we have to stay in that. That doesn't mean that I get triggered and then I just spiral down into that. It's like a whirlpool, right? And that's the image that's been coming through to me this morning as I've kind of been putting together how I wanted to talk about this was, you can be in a whirlpool with your head above water. And so with your head above water, you think, okay, I'm doing pretty good. This feels all right. But then you're still swirling, like you're still in this spin of all of it. So to transcend is to pop up out of that whirlpool and to rise up, and to transcend those things. So let's talk a little bit about this program, because it's what I wish I would have had for myself, not only years ago, like when I was really, really struggling with depression and all of that. So not only all those years ago, but 2 years ago, when I started really diving into my own healing journey and I had no idea what direction to go. I didn't know what to do. I wish I would have had something like this. Something with a little bit of structure, some tools, somewhere to start. Because I started eventually, but I very much started on my own. And I was just like, I just had to blindly just go forward in one way or the other. And so I did that. And this leads me to here today with this offering for you. If you are in that space of feeling stuck, of again, maybe knowing what your wounds are, maybe knowing you have past trauma or things that need to be worked on. Maybe you know that you have a pattern where you suppress your emotions, so you know all these emotions are just built up within you, but you don't know where to begin. Something else that I'm partially still working through, but another example I'll give you is limitations, or I'll put it like this, limitations. Because we can get so wrapped up in the things that we perceive to be our limitations. And this is a big one, I feel, because I think a lot of us do that without really realizing that that's what we're doing. So again, it falls into this kind of category or this thing of a victim consciousness where you're focusing on your limitations, you're focusing on the things that you don't have or the things that you can't do, or just that low vibe shit, right? So I have had layer after layer after layer where I've gone through the limitations, the stuckness, all of that stuff, and time after time. Because each time you strip away a layer, you're coming into things, you're into a state of being that is new. So you can see things through fresh eyes, almost, with a fresh perspective or a different perspective. So as you work on things, it can get frustrating because you're like, I've dealt with this like 50 times already, but here it is coming up again. And so what even was my point? I was talking about limitations, stories. It's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And I think a lot of us don't even realize that we are doing that. And so it becomes this pattern, this habit that requires conscious awareness and some committed action on your part, because you're the one who's with you at the end of the day. Nobody else can do the work for you. You can have a session like I did, a reading where you can get all the insight, learn all the things, but then what are you going to do with that? And yes, sometimes it's not even that you have to do anything with it, because awareness is key a lot of the time. So to shift things, oftentimes all you need is just to become aware of it. But lots of this stuff, again, has built up over your entire lifetime. So things are like deep. Things are thick. So you have to be able to get through those layers, to do that work, to be able to start to transcend into a new state of being. And I'm going to tell you, it's a wild experience because we can sometimes start this work and get into this work thinking that my entire life is going to change and it's going to look so different, it's going to be amazing, and it's just going to like be just like everything's going to change. It's just going to be like fantastic. But here's the thing. Yes, that's true, and that will happen. But it's not probably necessarily going to be the way you think it is going to happen or how it's going to show up. So when we talk about, and we'll be getting into all this super deep in the workshop, but when we talk about energy, we talk about frequency and your state of being, that is where the changes will blow your mind. You will not believe the things that you will experience as you peel away those layers, as you learn to lift yourself up, as you transcend those limitations, all of that bullshit, all of the stories that you've just been swirling in for your entire life. And I'm going to try not to get super emotional, but in my worst, most difficult days of depression, which this was many, many years ago now, but I can still remember feeling like I just am exhausted at living and I don't want to live anymore, and it would be a relief to not be here anymore. That's where I was at. To now, where yes, on the outside, the physical parts of my life are amazing, and there are so many things I'm grateful for, and I'm doing the work to make it even more amazing to get to where I want to be and where I want to be able to, just have different things and just more expansion, be able to support my family, and like the list really goes on. And I didn't know that there would be days where I would be crying because I could feel, and this is what I mean by when you come into a new state of being, because I can feel the multidimensionality of life and of existence. I didn't know that there would be times where I would be brought to tears because I was so grateful. For nothing necessarily in particular, just these waves come in of getting a glimpse of how you've always known life could be. Because we all know that, right? We all have our quote unquote dream life, but it's more than that. It's how you know life can feel. It's how you know you can feel and you can be and you can exist within your life and within your body in these ways that maybe don't make logical sense to yourself or to others. And that's the thing about being me, is I'm very much a person who oftentimes feels very alone and isolated, because the visions that I have for my life and how I know that life can be, generally it's very outside of the norm of what is socially acceptable. And I don't mean that in any like sick or twisted or demented ways. I just mean the not even the rut, but the way that society has come to function, not for me. Not for me whatsoever. So I am just honestly so thrilled and honored and excited, and I am so grounded into this program and this offering. It is going to be so packed with information, quantum, multidimensional energy healing that will be beyond what you could even imagine in your mind. A treasure chest of the tools and the things that you can do and use, the action steps, right? Because I know we all want the things that we can actually do. Like, give me what I can actually do. What can I use? And just so much other goodness that literally human words don't really do it justice. Hopefully you can feel my energy and you can feel just the energetic juiciness and potency, that's the right word, potency of this program. And if you are ready to transcend all of the bullshit that has been sticking you, feeling like you've got in a rut, all of your limitations, all of the stuff, then I encourage you to join me. The Zooms, so the conversations and the sessions are going to be live on Zoom, but the replays, of course, will be available. And I'll put the link in my website. You can go and see all of the details. It's right on my homepage on my website. I hope you'll check it out. And we start on Monday. We start a week from today. So join me or don't join me. I mean, whatever, really. It's up to you. You're the only one who can make that choice for you. But just know that it's going to be so amazing and so much fun and so eye-opening, and it's just going to be good. So I'm going to leave it at that. I talked for way longer than I thought I was going to, but that's it. I hope to see you there on Monday. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or find me on social media and message me. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. And if you already know you want to jump in, you want to dive in and join this program, contact me as well for that. So I hope to see you there. Love you so much. Bye.